He learned so much in Bahrain, a much different driving style, so I'm adjusting to that, and I'm slowly getting it into my head.
Lewis Hamilton knew switching to Ferrari would be tough, but he didn't expect this. From relearning how to brake to questioning the car's behavior mid-race, something just wasn't clicking.
They have a major upgrade on the way.
Then came a quiet upgrade that flipped everything. And unlike some teams, Ferrari actually listened to the signs instead of pretending everything was fine. Not naming names, but let's just say some people think cracked floors are just personality. Instead, believe me, Ferrari's performance in Bahrain wasn't just better than usual. It was their most meaningful step forward this season. And no, it wasn't because of strategy magic or a lucky safety car.
Alright guys, welcome to Formula 1 News. Ferrari's weekend in Bahrain was their best of the season so far in terms of points scored, and they have more upgrades it seems on the way to try and get them back into contention then.
It came down to one key thing, the new floor on the SF-25. At first glance, it delivered a modest 0.1 second per lap improvement. But in F1, that's not small. That's massive. Especially when your lead driver is still learning how to extract anything close to full performance from the car.
That it requires such a different driving style and settings. I've been using engine braking, which I've never ever used in previous years. Much different brakes if you're on Brimbos, and I've been on Carbon Industries for the last 15 years or so.
This wasn't some generic mid-season tweak. Ferrari's new floor is the foundation of a broader development path they're laying out for the next few rounds. And even in Bahrain, where conditions were unpredictable and the setup wasn't perfect, the impact was clear. The SF-25 had more grip. It was more stable in the high-speed sections.
Missing a few tenths of a second to McLaren right now. Their upgrade in Bahrain did improve things, but not enough if they want to be a serious challenger this season. Rumour has it, yes, upgrades are on the way, but the same is also true for other teams up and down the grid.
And it showed signs of finally being the car Ferrari promised when they unveiled it. Engineers believe that once optimized, with the right ride height, aero balance, and suspension tuning, this same floor could be worth up to 0.2 per lap. That's not a theory. That's based on the raw data they've already gathered from race telemetry.
Hamilton, of course, was frustrated with his own performance in qualifying, and after the race, though, he was a bit more upbeat and basically said he learned so much in Bahrain.
Now, Hamilton wasn't exactly racing at 100%. After all, he's still in the adjustment phase. His own words after Bahrain confirmed that the race was more of a live test session than a full-out fight. He wasn't just racing competitors, he was racing the learning curve. But even in that state, he finished P5, climbed from P9 on the grid, and nearly matched Leclerc, who started from the front row. That doesn't happen unless something serious has changed under the car. And that something is the SF-25 finally starting to unlock its hidden pace.
I've got to do a better job. Obviously, Hamilton can put it together. We saw that in China.
This moment also exposed something else. Ferrari's consistency in the midfield was no fluke. It wasn't a matter of other teams falling back. It was Ferrari getting their act together. Their tire management was sharper. Their pit stops remained the fastest on the grid. And the floor upgrade helped smooth out the rear-end instability that's been killing their corner exits. It's not a stretch to say that if things keep progressing at this rate, Ferrari may finally step out of the best of the rest role and into the top-tier fight. And Hamilton knows that better than anyone, because he's the one being stretched the most by the changes.
Red Bull also at Imola have some things in the works too. There's great urgency for upgrades at Red Bull, with Marco's future and, well, therefore Verstappen's future definitely on the line as it stands.
But where things really start to get crazy is with the brakes. For the first time in his entire F1 career, Hamilton is driving with Brembo brakes. For 15 years, from McLaren to Mercedes, he relied on Carbon Industry. Same brand, same feedback, same instinct, and now, that's all been wiped out. The pedal feel, the bite point, the way the car reacts under pressure, it's all different. This isn't about just pressing harder or earlier, it's about completely reprogramming how you approach every single corner on the track.
Their simulators told them that they could run the car at this ride height and they would be on par with McLaren, or at least where they want to be. That is not how it is so far this season, and that is the primary issue.
What's even more surprising is that Hamilton revealed he started using engine braking. For most F1 drivers, that's not unheard of. But for Hamilton, it's brand new. He never had to rely on it before. That tells you just how much Ferrari's braking system is forcing him to adapt in real time. This isn't a veteran easing into a new car. This is a 7-time world champion having to learn things he's never had to think about in over a decade on the grid.
Not great. Ferrari are doing a killer job with it.
Leclerc, on the other hand, brakes earlier. It helps with rotation. It plays to the SF-25's strengths. Hamilton? He's always been a late braker, one of the best at it. But with this car, that habit is working against him. The Brembos don't allow the same trust under pressure as the carbon industry setup did. Hamilton even said it outright. The braking demands are unlike anything he's dealt with before. It's not just different, it's difficult. Now here's the part that really matters. Hamilton estimates he's been losing around 1/10 per lap just due to braking inconsistencies. That's not minor. That's career-defining in a sport this tight. But according to internal sources, Ferrari may have quietly addressed that. The suspected issue? A faulty gearbox supply component was creating irregularities in throttle delivery and brake response. It's since been corrected. And if that's true, the Bahrain result might have just been the warm-up.
They were running their car very close to the ground, and that was okay for the sprints. They got away with it because there wasn't going to be the wear on the plank, but for the full Grand Prix there was.
So when people say Hamilton hasn't looked like himself lately, it's not just about form, it's about fundamentals. He's not just adjusting to a new team, he's adapting to a new system from the ground up. And as we know in post-Suzuka, something didn't sit right with Lewis Hamilton. He said it outright. The car felt off. No crash, no incident, but performance that didn't add up. Now we know why. Inside Maranello, engineers quietly discovered a gearbox supply fault that was affecting torque delivery and throttle response. It wasn't a mechanical failure that caused a DNF. It was worse. Subtle, invisible sabotage. The kind that slips under the radar, costs a 10th per lap, and makes a 7-time world champion start questioning if he's lost his edge. The issue was traced back to a component in the gearbox housing, according to internal reports. It was disrupting torque consistency, especially during corner exits, precisely the phase where Hamilton has always made up time. The fault wasn't made public, and it certainly wasn't on any FEA bulletin. This was in-house Ferrari damage control, patched quietly before the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Hamilton didn't blast the team over radio or point fingers in the media. He just said he was still figuring things out. And now we know that under the surface, Ferrari was too.
There was a feeling from Ferrari that things are maybe getting a little bit better. They brought an upgrade the most recent weekends. Vasseur says that the struggles are nothing to do with the new concept. It's purely that they have no grip and downforce.
Once the issue was addressed, Bahrain happened. Hamilton went from mid-pack frustration in qualifying to P5 on race day, gaining 4 positions in a clean, controlled drive. Suddenly, the SF-25 felt drivable again. The throttle response made sense. The rear didn't dance under power. Engineers have since confirmed that Bahrain was the first race where the corrected gearbox layout was used in full, and it immediately brought stability to the car's behavior under acceleration. 1/10 per lap might not sound like much, but over a 57-lap race, that's almost 6 seconds, enough to change everything from pit strategy to track position.
The upgrades they brought to Bahrain and the upgrades they still have to come going forwards. So the package in Bahrain gave them, we believe, a 1/10 of a second, which obviously is not much.
And while the gearbox gremlin may be buried now, Ferrari's broader aero challenge isn't. The SF-25 has another secret problem that's been eating away at its potential since preseason testing. It can't run at the ride height it was designed for. That's not just an inconvenience, that's a fundamental design flaw with massive consequences. According to engineers within the team, Ferrari is losing around 20 points of downforce purely because the car is being forced to run higher than simulations intended.
I think there's definitely a world where Mercedes bring like a big upgrade that gives them a couple of tenths, and all of a sudden they're right there on certain weekends. Beating McLaren is going to be a real challenge.
To put it plainly, this is why the SF-25 still trails McLaren by 0.4 seconds per lap. In simulations, Ferrari was confident the car would be neck and neck with McLaren. But real-world track data ripped that belief apart. The car starts porpoising or scrubbing performance the moment they lower it to its optimal height. So, to avoid instability and floor damage, Ferrari lifts it and loses the very grip that makes the design work. Until that is solved, every other upgrade, every new floor, every new wing, built on a compromised platform.
The positive that Ferrari do have is that they can optimize the package. You often see this, certainly with Ferrari, you often see this. They'll bring an upgrade package, it will work, but it won't be optimized. And they will then trawl over the data over the next few days, and they will then, for the next Grand Prix, almost get like another pseudo upgrade.
This issue explains a lot. It explains why Ferrari's raw speed in qualifying isn't being converted into front row starts. It explains why race pace fluctuates depending on compound and fuel load. And it explains why Hamilton, despite getting more comfortable in the car, still finds himself chasing instead of attacking. Until the SF-25 can run at its intended spec, it's like asking a sprinter to run in ankle weights. No matter how good their technique, there's a limit to how far they can go. And that has massive implications. Because if Hamilton is still adapting now, he's not even working with the final product yet. Every lap, every race weekend so far has been him playing catch-up in a car that's incomplete. And when the full spec does arrive, the expectations, pressure and scrutiny will jump with it. So, what do you think happens when Hamilton finally gets the full SF-25 under control? Let us know in the comments.